They saw your mind first. Before they even knew your name, they felt the weight of your silence, the kind that makes people nervous, the kind that makes weak souls whisper. You never needed a stage to be loud. Your presence is the warning. You walk in, and suddenly, every insecure heart in the room starts looking for somewhere to hide. They'll never admit it, but your intelligence, it terrifies them. It peels back their masks. It exposes their bluff. Because you're not playing the game, they are. And worse, you're winning without even trying. Behind every fake smile they throw your way is a silent panic. You see through too much. You hear what they don't say. Your intuition, it's surgical, clean, precise, brutal. And it's been cutting through lies, ego, and manipulation since day one. That's why they isolate you. That's why they talk behind your back. That's why you've always felt like an outsider in rooms where everyone else seemed comfortable. But hear this. Outsiders are just those too real to fake it. You're not different. You're dangerous to their control, to their illusions, to the fragile system they built to keep minds like yours out of power. The truth is, most people don't fear being misunderstood. They fear being understood by someone like you. Because once someone sees the gears turning behind the curtain, the entire illusion collapses. That's what your mind does. It doesn't just observe, it decodes, it rewrites the script. It starts fires in places that were cold for centuries, and that's why they react to you like you're a threat, because you are. If you're still here, listening, it's because you've felt this. The loneliness, the betrayal, the constant second-guessing of yourself. But let's call it what it really was. Envy in disguise. You weren't hard to love. They were too weak to hold something that real. And the universe, it never abandoned you. It's been sharpening you in silence. Every dark night, every tear, every closed door wasn't rejection. It was redirection. You've been walking through storms, meant to break others, and somehow you came out cleaner, clearer, colder, wiser. And while they were busy underestimating you, you were collecting receipts, learning patterns, remembering faces. You never needed revenge. Your growth is the revenge. Your peace is proof. And your silence. That's not weakness. That's calculation. Because chosen ones don't scream. They strategize. They don't seek attention. They attract it. And now, it's your time. It's your turn. You're not stepping into power. You are power. And before we go further, thank you. Thank you for being one of the real ones. If you feel this in your soul, then hit the like button and subscribe. That's not just support. It's solidarity. It's how we strengthen this message and let the world know we're done hiding. Now let's turn it up. Let's make one thing very clear. Your intuition isn't just some cute vibe. It's ancestral. It's ancient. It's survival coded into your DNA. That feeling you get before something goes wrong. That knowing in your gut when someone's lying. That chill you get before truth hits. That's not just instinct. It's intelligence, and it's louder now than ever. Why? Because the world is shifting, the masks are slipping, and those who see clearly are rising. Look around. Everything they built is cracking. Systems, narratives, status, their fake smiles are melting under the pressure of authenticity. And you're not breaking down. You're breaking through. You're the calm after the chaos. You're the lesson after the loss. And what's wild, you never asked for any of this. You didn't chase power. You became it by surviving what was meant to destroy you. They tried to write you off, paint you as too intense, too deep, too sensitive. But now, those very traits are being recognized as superpowers. What used to make you the target now makes you the blueprint. They study your moves now. They copy your style. They mimic your energy. But they can never replicate the source, because you didn't get this from a trend. You earned it in silence. And your silence? It's no longer quiet. It's loud. It's a roar wrapped in calm. It says, I know who I am, and I don't need your permission to be it. This is your era. No more shrinking, no more doubting, no more waiting for the world to catch up. You are the shift. You are the mirror they avoid. And your light? It's not for decoration. It's for disruption. They see it now. They know you're smart. Too smart. And that scares them. Not because of what you know, but because of what you could expose. Keep walking. Keep glowing. Keep cutting through the noise. The ones who truly see you, they're watching. The ones who tried to dim you, they're panicking. You were never meant to blend in. You are the exception, the blueprint, the revolution. Welcome home. And hey, chosen one. Yeah, you with the mind they can't predict. The one whose intuition slices through fake energy like a blade. You've always felt that tension in the room when you speak truth without even trying. That's no accident. That's power. And now it's time to own it. Drop the number 777 in the comments if you're done dimming your light just to make others comfortable. Let the world know you're stepping into full awareness. No filters, no fear. Because this isn't just a video. This is your reflection, your reminder, your confirmation that you were never crazy, never too much. You were just way ahead. And those looks they give you, that weird shift in energy when you speak your mind, that's respect trying to disguise itself as fear. You were never meant to blend in. You are the signal in the static. So if you're still here, stay, stick around. If your soul is aligned with this message, you won't be able to look away anyway. This is your moment, your map, your mirror. Now let's break it all down, step by step. And trust me, if you really are one of the rare ones, you won't just watch till the end. You'll feel it. Let's get into it. Number 1, you don't brag, you break them silently. They called you quiet, but what they really meant was, you couldn't be manipulated. They thought silence meant weakness, that if you weren't shouting for attention, you must not have any power. But let's make one thing clear, you never needed to raise your voice to raise the bar. You've been the storm moving in silence, the earthquake that doesn't warn before it cracks the surface. And while they were busy flexing empty confidence in front of crowds, you were watching, calculating, stacking knowledge, reading the room with eyes that see through people, not just at them. You don't just hear what's being said, you hear what's being hidden. That's not talent, that's threat-level awareness. And yeah, it terrifies them. See, people like them. They need to be loud. They need the spotlight to distract from the fact that there's nothing real holding them up. Their confidence is a costume. Yours? It's bone deep. It's unshakable because it was forged in silence, built in rooms where no one clapped, refined through nights where you had to clap for yourself just to keep going. While they were loud in their comfort zones, you were growing in the shadows, and now they feel it. They feel it in the way you walk into a room without trying to impress anyone, in the way you speak only when it matters, and when you do, it lands. They can't predict you, can't box you in, can't figure out what fuels someone who clearly isn't playing the same survival game they are. Your energy hits different because it's real. It's not built on validation, it's built on vision. You make them nervous because they don't know what you know, or worse, they do. Deep down, they know you see them. You see through the performance, through the fake alliances, through every power game they play. And nothing threatens a manipulator more than someone who sees too clearly and won't say a word. That's what destroys them. Not a confrontation, but the quiet knowing in your eyes that says, I already read you. They'll test you over and over, not to learn from you, but to make themselves feel better, to try and find a crack in your armor, a flaw they can point to, a moment where you fold like they would, but you never do. And that's the punch they weren't ready for. Every time they think they've got you figured out, you show them they were playing checkers while you were designing the whole damn chessboard. So why don't you talk more? Why don't you show off? Because real power doesn't need proof. You don't waste energy explaining brilliance to those committed to misunderstanding it. You let your results speak. You let your silence weigh heavier than their screams. Because when you move with intention, and every step you take reshapes the ground they thought was solid. And let's talk about that quiet confidence they hate so much. You know what that really is? It's undeniable clarity. You're not confused like them. You don't need groupthink to validate your thoughts. You don't need a crowd to feel seen. Your intuition has been screaming truths long before anyone else could even recognize the pattern. And now that it's all playing out exactly how you sensed it would, suddenly everyone's paying attention. But don't get it twisted. They'll never give you credit out loud. Why? Because if they admit how right you are, they have to admit how wrong they've been. They'll pretend they didn't hear you say it first. They'll act like it's just common sense now. But deep down, they know. They remember. You were the one who warned them, the one who saw it coming, the one who always knew. And that right there, that's what scares them the most, because now they can't ignore it anymore. You're no longer just the quiet one. You're the blueprint, the one who doesn't just survive, but thrives in silence, destroys in peace, and evolves with grace. They feel you rising even if you haven't said a word. That's why they act weird around you. That's why they copy you without giving credit. That's why they keep testing you. You've become their measure of greatness. And nothing is more frustrating to the loud and empty than being outrun by the quiet and full. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them build their little stories and circle jerk each other with delusions. You're not in competition with noise. You're building legacy in silence. While they seek reactions, you seek results. While they chase clout, you chase clarity. While they crumble from doubt, you rise from depth. And if you've ever wondered why they couldn't handle your energy, it's because your stillness screams the truth too loud for their comfort. You reflect what they aren't ready to face. You don't just think differently. You are different. And that difference, that's the weapon they'll never be able to match. You're not like them, and that's exactly why you win. So don't second-guess that quiet fire inside you. It was never meant to burn loud. It was meant to burn long. You are the slow, steady rise that nobody saw coming, but everybody will feel. You're the silence that echoes longer than their noise. You're the move they didn't expect, the force they can't stop, the ending they didn't write, but now have to live through. This isn't just about being smart, it's about being untouchable. You weren't born to explain your mind. You were born to change theirs. And if they can't handle that, let them break themselves trying to keep up. Because the real ones, the chosen ones, we don't show off. We show up. Silently, relentlessly, unapologetically, and we never leave empty-handed. Number 2, you don't read people, you decode them. They hate how fast you figure them out, because once you see through someone, they can't control you anymore. You don't walk into rooms blind. You walk in with radar, scanning everything, picking up on tones, glances, pauses, the spaces between words. Where others get distracted by smiles and handshakes, you're already 2 steps past the surface. You hear the real message buried beneath their polite lies. You see the fear behind their fake confidence. You sense the power plays before they even move a piece. That's not paranoia. That's precision. Imagine this. You're at a table with 10 people. Everyone's laughing, pretending, performing, but you're quiet. Not because you don't belong, but because you already know who's faking, who's scheming, who's watching you a little too closely. You know who's smiling from their mouth, but hiding a dagger in their energy. It's not just that you read people, it's that you understand their motives before they do. That's what rattles them. People feel seen around you, and not in the comforting way, in the exposed way, in the "oh no, they know" kind of way. That's why they flinch. That's why they push back. You've got this unspoken skill of unraveling people with a single look, a single question, a single smirk. You don't just observe, you intercept. Wisdom doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it walks in quietly, with no name tag, no degree, just presence. They ask, "Where did you learn that?" As if truth needs a classroom, as if intuition comes with a certificate, as if deep understanding must be earned the way they earned it, by playing by someone else's rules. But you didn't memorize the script. You wrote your own, and that's what pisses them off. In workplaces, in friend circles, in family gatherings, you see the game behind the conversation. You notice how that one coworker keeps throwing shade disguised as jokes. How your friend always subtly competes with you. How your boss over-explains something because deep down they feel threatened that you learn faster than they did. You catch it all, and you say nothing because you don't need to prove it. Just knowing is enough. That's your edge, your superpower. They pretend to be honest. You pretend to believe them. That's the unspoken agreement between the wolf and the sheep. And look, it's not that you're trying to expose people. You're just tired of pretending not to see the mess when it's written all over their energy. You've had to bite your tongue more times than you can count. You've watched people underestimate you, try to teach you things you already mastered in silence. You've seen people act like you're slow just because you don't argue. But the truth is, you were never behind. You were just watching the bigger picture. Imagine you're in a meeting. Everyone's throwing around big words, trying to look smart. You stay silent. And in that silence, you're mapping out who's lying, who's bluffing, who's hiding insecurity behind jargon. Then, with one question, just one, you cut through all the noise, and suddenly the room shifts. Because now they realize you weren't quiet because you had nothing to say. You were quiet because you were watching them fumble in real time. You don't just read the room, you redesign it with a sentence. They try to check your resume, your background, your credentials, as if titles define truth, as if your insight needs to be validated to be real. But what they don't understand is you've been learning from life while they were stuck memorizing lessons. Your experiences taught you what textbooks never could. You picked up wisdom from pain, pattern, and observation. You studied people the way artists study light, quietly, carefully, relentlessly. And no, you're not too sensitive, you're too aware. And awareness in a world built on deception, that's a threat. That's why they label you, call you cold, call you weird, say you're too intense, because if they can't match your depth, they'll try to drown your truth. But you're not here to play small just to make shallow people comfortable. You're here to see it all and still choose your moves with grace. They don't know how to handle someone who listens more than they speak, who asks real questions, who doesn't fall for the bait, who's immune to manipulation because they've seen every trick in the book and probably wrote a few themselves. You're not shocked by betrayal anymore. You saw it coming chapters ago. You just stayed quiet because sometimes the best way to end a lie is to let it finish itself. Imagine this. You're walking through life with X-ray vision while everyone else is distracted by glitter. They chase clout. You sense motive. They buy personas. You read patterns. They live in denial. You operate from truth. And that truth, that's your weapon. Quiet, clean, brutal. You've mastered the art of pretending not to know just to watch who exposes themselves. So when they question your intelligence, when they doubt your path, let them. Let them try to measure your mind with their shallow rulers. Let them confuse silence with ignorance, all while you're quietly building an empire in your head. While you're stacking understanding that they'll never reach because they're too busy trying to impress and you're too busy trying to see. This world tries to reward noise, but secretly it bows to clarity, and clarity is your birthright. Your mind doesn't just think, it feels patterns before they unfold. Your soul doesn't guess, it remembers what others have forgotten. That's not just intellect, that's legacy. So when they whisper about you, when they question how you always just know, smile, because what they call luck is actually your pattern recognition. What they call weird is actually your intuition outpacing their logic. What they call mysterious is actually you playing the game 10 steps ahead. They tried to dim your light by questioning your path, but your glow, it doesn't flicker, it blinds. And the more they try to fit you into their boxes, the more your brilliance shatters their expectations. You're not here to explain how you know. You are not here to prove what you've seen. You are here to embody it, loudly, quietly, boldly. Let them wonder, let them stare, let them whisper, because you don't just see people. You expose illusions without even lifting a finger, and that's what makes you dangerous. Number 3, they studied books. You survived battles. You didn't read it in a textbook, you lived it. That's why your wisdom hits harder and heals deeper. They flaunt degrees, certificates, fancy titles stamped by systems that reward memory over meaning. And sure, they might sound smart in a meeting or drop buzzwords in front of a crowd, but when life actually hits, they fold. Because knowledge printed on paper fades fast when reality doesn't follow the script. Meanwhile, you learned in the dark. You learned when no one was watching, when no one cared, when you had to figure it out or fall apart. Your intelligence wasn't downloaded, it was earned. And that's why you think the way you do, why your mind doesn't just analyze, it absorbs. You connect dots others don't even see. You walk into chaos and start making sense of it like it's second nature. People wonder how you stay so calm in moments of madness. It's because the madness trained you. You've lived through confusion so loud that now nothing shakes you. You've faced problems that couldn't be solved with theory, and you solved them anyway. There's a kind of intelligence that can't be measured. It's found in the way a person rebuilds themselves when everything breaks. Imagine two people standing at the edge of disaster, one with a PhD in how to manage crisis, the other, you, with scars, instincts, and a memory full of moments where you had no choice but to make it work. Guess who comes out standing when it's over? Exactly. You don't lead because you try to. You lead because people follow the energy of someone who's been through it and didn't let it destroy them. You never declared yourself wise, never asked to be anyone's teacher. And yet, when the storm hits, who do they turn to? Who do they ask for advice when their theories fall apart? Who do they watch when they don't know what to do next? You. Because there's something about the way you move, the way you speak only when needed, the way you give answers that don't just sound right, they feel right. like truth wrapped in calm, like clarity delivered without ego. You're not loud about it, you don't shove your story in people's faces, but when you speak, it hits, because they know what you're saying comes from real pain, real healing, real lessons paid for in time, solitude, and strength. You didn't Google the answers. You earned them in silence. And that's what makes your mind dangerous. It's not built on second-hand knowledge. It's been pressure-tested by the universe itself. When people see how fast you understand things, how deeply you process what others gloss over, it rattles them. Because they've spent years chasing recognition while you've been mastering awareness. They show off what they've learned. You embody what you've survived. They don't get how someone who never brags, never begs for attention, never flaunts their intelligence, somehow outshines them in every room. But real power doesn't beg to be seen. It becomes unavoidable. You've never had to shout your worth. You've let your energy do the talking. And that quiet, grounded, earned energy, it draws real ones in and exposes the fake ones instantly. That's why people either respect you deeply or hate you quietly. There's rarely an in-between. And if you've ever wondered why you don't fit into traditional systems, it's because you weren't designed to. You're not a carbon copy. You're not following their path. You're carving your own with tools they didn't even know existed. Your intelligence is deep, raw, emotional, spiritual, strategic. It's the kind of knowing that comes from watching everything fall apart and still finding the thread of meaning in the wreckage. You're not wise because you know everything. You're wise because you've lost everything and still chose to understand. So let them measure IQ, let them collect trophies, let them memorize empty phrases to impress empty minds. You'll be too busy turning pain into insight, struggle into strength, isolation into mastery, because what they call just surviving, you turned into a blueprint for rising. They don't have to understand it, they just have to watch it. And believe me, they are watching. And if they ever ask, "How do you know all this?" you won't even need to answer, because the truth is, you remember the pain that taught you. And that memory, that's the sharpest wisdom anyone can carry. You never needed to be taught what the fire already revealed. You are the evidence that experience is the highest form of education, and the diploma is the unshakable mind you walk around with every single day. Number 4, you don't speak to impress, you exist to disrupt. Your silence says more than their loudest lies. That's why your presence makes them twitch. You don't need to enter a room loud, you just enter, and that alone is enough to make the insecure shift in their seats. You walk in with that unshakable stillness, the kind that makes people second-guess themselves, suddenly unsure if their masks are still holding. Your energy isn't just calm, it's confrontational without a single word. You force people to see themselves simply by existing. They don't know what it is about you, but they feel it. The way conversation dips for a second when you walk past. The way eyes dart toward you and then quickly away. The way people start fidgeting with their clothes, their words, their image. All because something about your presence exposes how much of them is performance. You are a mirror they didn't ask for, but can't avoid. And it's not because you're trying to shake things up. You're just authentic, and in a world addicted to filters, costumes, and clout chasing, authenticity hits like a punch to the gut. It reveals, it humbles, it hurts. And that's why your presence feels like a threat. You remind people of the version of themselves they've abandoned. You awaken parts of them they've buried. You bring gravity into spaces built on fluff. Imagine this. a room full of small talk, inflated egos, flexed insecurities, everyone pretending, everyone performing. Then you show up, no facade, no games, just presence, and suddenly their jokes don't land. Their arrogance deflates. Their shallow confidence starts to crack. That's not because you're trying to ruin the vibe. It's because your existence raises the frequency and everything fake starts to malfunction. You don't disturb the peace. You reveal that there was never peace to begin with. They start to ask themselves, why do they look so grounded? How do they stay so calm? Why can't I shake their gaze? Why do they always know more without saying anything? But they don't really want the answer, because the truth is, you listen to things they can't hear. You understand silence like it's a language. You hear the hesitations in people's voices. You catch the shift in their tone. You sense when energy turns cold, when intentions twist, when someone's words stop matching their vibe. It's not magic, it's mastery. You've spent years in rooms where no one clapped, where you had to learn not just to survive, but to observe. And now, your awareness walks into every room before you do. That's what they feel. That's what they're reacting to. You never chased validation, never needed to, because you've got something stronger, an internal compass that doesn't lie, a knowing that doesn't stutter. You don't need to announce who you are. Your silence already did. And the ones who get it, they feel it. The ones who don't, they'll talk about you in circles trying to define what can't be labeled. Some people build presence with noise. You built yours with truth. They wonder how you know things you shouldn't, how you always see the cracks in people's masks, how you stay 10 steps ahead without trying. But what they call intuition is really attention. You pay attention to everything, to energy, to silence, to patterns. You've learned that what people don't say often screams louder than what they do. That's why you see so clearly. That's why you're never truly surprised. You stopped expecting honesty from people who lie to themselves, and when they try to figure you out, they can't, because you don't fit the script. You're not in it for clout, control, or competition. You're here for truth, and that alone makes you a glitch in their system. You're not easily influenced. You don't follow trends. You study them. You don't jump to conclusions. You let reality reveal itself to you. That's power, and it rattles people who are only strong when they're in control. You're the eye of the storm, still, centered, and impossible to shake. Let them gossip. Let them wonder. Let them talk about your vibe in vague, confused terms, because while they try to dissect your presence like a puzzle, you'll keep doing what you've always done, moving in silence, rooted in truth. And while they bend for acceptance, you'll keep standing for what's real, quietly, unapologetically. That's the difference. You're not here to dominate. You're not here to be worshipped. You're here to awaken, to bring light to things people try to keep hidden. And light doesn't make everyone comfortable. It exposes dust. It shows cracks. It reveals what people tried to ignore. But real ones, they'll thank you for it. And that's who you're here for. So no, your presence doesn't disturb the peace. It just reveals the truth beneath the noise, and that's why it can't be ignored. You don't intimidate them. Their lack of depth does. And your presence? It reminds them of just how far they've strayed from who they were meant to be. Number 5, you're not competing. You're composing a symphony they can't hear. They thought it was a race. You were building a whole new world in silence. Let them keep running in circles, chasing applause, fighting over scraps of attention. You moved differently from the start. While they were trying to outshine each other, you were outgrowing the whole damn arena. You never entered their competition because you saw how small it really was. You didn't play their game, not because you couldn't, but because you knew you were meant to build your own. They don't understand you, and they won't. Because you don't walk in their rhythm, you move on intuition, you don't chase trends, you respond to frequency. You feel what's coming before anyone speaks it out loud. You sense the subtle shifts in energy, like a tide changing under a calm sea. Others get caught off guard by what hits them. You already saw it forming in the distance. You didn't learn to predict the future, you learned to feel it before it arrives. There's a reason your words hit differently. Even when you say something simple, it lands heavy. It stays, because behind every sentence is experience, pattern recognition, and truth. You don't speak to fill space, you speak to shift it. And when you do, people stop, listen, feel. Even the ones who don't understand why they're moved are. That's not talent, that's tuning in. You're aligned with something bigger than what they're chasing. They're addicted to external signals. You trust the quiet wisdom of the inner pull. That's what builds your rhythm. That's why everything you do seems to unfold with meaning, while others are stuck guessing their next move. You stopped dancing to their noise and became the beat they couldn't match. Imagine this. They're sprinting across a stage built on performance, ego, and fragile pride. And you're walking through a different door entirely. While they try to one-up each other, you're building blueprints no one sees yet. While they scream over each other to be heard, your silence starts echoing louder than all of them combined. And one day, they'll realize you were never behind. You were just moving to a rhythm meant to outlast them all. They start to ask, why does everything they do just click? How do they always seem 5 moves ahead? Why do their words cut so deep, even when they speak so soft? Because you don't react, you respond. You don't panic, you prepare. You're not impulsive because you've already felt the energy shift before it shows up. You sense what's off. You feel what's real. You don't rush because you already know where you're going. While they followed maps, you became a compass. And here's the secret. They could have had this too, but they were too busy trying to be loud to learn how to listen. They were too obsessed with control to recognize flow. You had to unlearn what they cling to. You had to get comfortable in silence, had to find value in patience, had to move through seasons of invisibility so you could master your own rhythm. Now look, everything makes sense. You're not racing anyone. You're creating waves in a frequency most people are too distracted to tune into. That's why your energy disrupts spaces without trying. Why people feel calm around you, but also challenged. Because something about you says there's more truth, more depth, more meaning, and whether they admit it or not, they feel the call. Your rhythm isn't made for quick wins, it's made for legacy. You're not trying to be seen, you're trying to build something worth being remembered for. So let them keep sprinting for followers, chasing validation, stealing styles, and mimicking movements. Let them pretend speed is success. You'll be in your own lane, unbothered, building something timeless. Because your rhythm, it's not random, it's coded in alignment. You move when it's right. You act when it's real, and you speak when it's time. You're not offbeat, you're just playing a rhythm only real ones recognize. And they will, in time. They'll start to notice how you don't crash when things fall apart. You recalibrate. They'll notice how your life doesn't spiral with chaos because you already adjusted your path long before it arrived. They'll notice how you always seem to know what's next, not because someone told you, but because you felt it, watched it, waited for it. That's your power. That's what separates you. You didn't come here to compete for crowns. You came here to create frequencies that outlive trends. You came here to speak truth so layered it'll still echo when the noise fades. You came here to build a life that's aligned, not approved. So no, you're not one of them, and you never were. You are the rhythm that can't be rushed, the voice that doesn't need volume, the movement that reshapes the room without permission. And that's exactly why you'll always be ahead, even when they think you're behind. Number 6. You're not competing. You're composing a symphony they can't hear. They thought it was a race. You were building a whole new world in silence. Let them keep running in circles, chasing applause, fighting over scraps of attention. You moved differently from the start. While they were trying to outshine each other, you were outgrowing the whole damn arena. You never entered their competition because you saw how small it really was. You didn't play their game, not because you couldn't, but because you knew you were meant to build your own. They don't understand you, and they won't, because you don't walk in their rhythm, you move on intuition. You don't chase trends, you respond to frequency. You feel what's coming before anyone speaks it out loud. You sense the subtle shifts in energy, like a tide changing under a calm sea. Others get caught off guard by what hits them. You already saw it forming in the distance. You didn't learn to predict the future. You learned to feel it before it arrives. There's a reason your words hit differently. Even when you say something simple, it lands heavy. It stays. Because behind every sentence is experience, pattern recognition, and truth. You don't speak to fill space. You speak to shift it. And when you do, people stop, listen, feel. Even the ones who don't understand why they're moved are. That's not talent. That's tuning in. You're aligned with something bigger than what they're chasing. They're addicted to external signals. You trust the quiet wisdom of the inner pull. That's what builds your rhythm. That's why everything you do seems to unfold with meaning, while others are stuck guessing their next move. You stopped dancing to their noise and became the beat they couldn't match. Imagine this. They're sprinting across a stage built on performance, ego, and fragile pride, and you're walking through a different door entirely. While they try to one-up each other, you're building blueprints no one sees yet. While they scream over each other to be heard, your silence starts echoing louder than all of them combined. And one day, they'll realize you were never behind. You were just moving to a rhythm meant to outlast them all. They start to ask, why does everything they do just click? How do they always seem 5 moves ahead? Why do their words cut so deep, even when they speak so soft? Because you don't react. You respond. You don't panic. You prepare. You're not impulsive because you've already felt the energy shift before it shows up. You sense what's off. You feel what's real. You don't rush because you already know where you're going. While they followed maps, you became a compass. And here's the secret. They could have had this too. But they were too busy trying to be loud to learn how to listen. They were too obsessed with control to recognize flow. You had to unlearn what they cling to. You had to get comfortable in silence. Had to find value in patience, had to move through seasons of invisibility so you could master your own rhythm. Now look, everything makes sense. You're not racing anyone. You're creating waves in a frequency most people are too distracted to tune into. That's why your energy disrupts spaces without trying. Why people feel calm around you, but also challenged. Because something about you says there's more. More truth, more depth, more meaning. And whether they admit it or not, they feel the call. Your rhythm isn't made for quick wins, it's made for legacy. You're not trying to be seen, you're trying to build something worth being remembered for. So let them keep sprinting for followers, chasing validation, stealing styles, and mimicking movements. Let them pretend speed is success. You'll be in your own lane, unbothered, building something timeless. Because your rhythm, it's not random, it's coded in alignment. You move when it's right, you act when it's real, and you speak when it's time. You're not offbeat, you're just playing a rhythm only real ones recognize. And they will, in time. They'll start to notice how you don't crash when things fall apart. You recalibrate. They'll notice how your life doesn't spiral with chaos because you already adjusted your path long before it arrived. They'll notice how you always seem to know what's next. Not because someone told you, but because you felt it, watched it, waited for it. That's your power. That's what separates you. You didn't come here to compete for crowns. You came here to create frequencies that outlive trends. You came here to speak truth so layered it'll still echo when the noise fades. You came here to build a life that's aligned, not approved. So no, you're not one of them, and you never were. You are the rhythm that can't be rushed, the voice that doesn't need volume, the movement that reshapes the room without permission, and that's exactly why you'll always be ahead, even when they think you're behind. Number 7. When they laughed, you listened. Now they whisper. They called it luck. You called it alignment. The difference, you were awake while they were performing. Funny how quiet they get when the tables turn. The same mouths that once mocked your silence now speak your name like a warning. They used to laugh when you pulled back, when you didn't follow the crowd, when you chose stillness over chaos. But now that everything you sensed has unfolded exactly how you felt it would, they can't meet your eyes. Because somewhere deep down, they know you knew. And no, you never claimed to be mystical or prophetic. You just listened. You trusted that internal voice that speaks in logic wrapped in intuition, fact mixed with frequency. You read the air, not just the headlines. You studied patterns, not gossip. You saw the shifts in energy before they even showed up in conversation. You've always walked that razor-thin line between reason and instinct, and that balance is what saved you. Intuition isn't magic, it's intelligence refined by experience. Imagine this, a storm coming, everyone laughing, calling you paranoid for stepping inside early. Then the thunder hits. The same people who mocked you start scrambling for shelter. You're already dry, calm, sipping tea by the window. That's your life, isn't it? Always one step ahead, not because you chase control, but because you respect signals others ignore. They'll call it coincidence to protect their pride. They'll call it good timing to downplay your clarity. But you and the universe know better. You've been guided by something far more exact, awareness. You see things others label unexplainable, but you don't need to explain what you understand. That's the advantage of walking with truth instead of ego. You never have to prove it. They move by reaction. You move by recognition. And that's why your path looks so smooth from the outside. It's not luck, it's discernment. You don't panic when energy shifts. You pivot. You don't argue when people reveal their masks. You simply observe. You've learned that most disasters come with warnings. You just happen to be one of the few who pays attention. Now, they're watching you differently. The whispers aren't insults anymore. They're curiosity. How did they know? How did they see it coming? Simple. You didn't need a sign. You became one. Number 8. Your gift is the reason. They left, and the reason you're still standing. You weren't abandoned, you were set apart. Because the loud can't stand what the wise don't need to explain. This gift you carry, it's sharp, heavy, and divine in its design. Not the kind of gift that comes with applause or trophies. No, this one comes with distance, with silence, with people slowly drifting away, not because you change, but because you stayed real while they stayed performing. Let them. Because your isolation, that's not punishment, it's protection. See, the truth is, your presence exposes the lack in theirs. You don't need to flex brilliance. It leaks through your silence. It bleeds into every room you enter. You are the shift. That makes shallow people uncomfortable. That makes fakes run. You didn't lose them. They lost access to a frequency they were never willing to rise into. And you felt it early. That tightening in your chest. That sense of disconnection when surrounded by noise. It wasn't social anxiety, it was spiritual intelligence saying, this space isn't for you anymore. Some are loved for being relatable, others are isolated for being real. You walk through life tuned into something higher, something cleaner. While they chase claps, you follow calling. While they measure their worth by the company they keep, you've learned to measure yours by the peace that stays when everyone else leaves. They think you're cold, detached, distant, but they don't understand that your distance is a boundary, not bitterness. They don't get that your silence is not a lack of things to say. It's the refusal to waste energy explaining depth to those who only swim in the shallow end. You were never meant to be the echo. You were built to be the origin. Let them doubt. Let them whisper. Let them try to define you with the words they stole from others. Imitation always hates originality, and what they feel when they're around you is not arrogance, it's clarity. They can't fake what you were born with, so instead, they label it, misunderstand it, distance themselves from it, and still, you rise. You keep walking. You keep choosing peace over applause, truth over attention, stillness over chaos. Because you don't need a crowd to know who you are. Your gift may isolate you, but it never leaves you empty. It aligns you, it protects you, and most of all, it keeps you ready. Number 9. You're the calm before every storm they never see coming. Real power doesn't announce itself. It just walks in, shifts the atmosphere, and lets the silence do the talking. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone in the room, because you are the reason the room shifts. While they scramble to be seen, to be heard, to be praised, you're watching, calculating, reading the energy. You know what's real before it's revealed. That's why your silence is so damn loud. It holds more weight than all their noise combined. They feel it. Oh, they definitely feel it. That tension in the air when you say nothing, but everyone starts looking at you like you've already spoken. That's not intimidation. That's truth recognized. You don't flex your intelligence because you don't have to. Your presence exposes the gaps in their logic, the cracks in their image, the lie in their performance. That's what scares them. It's not what you say, it's what you see. You speak with your eyes, command with your energy, and destroy egos with your silence. They call you quiet until they realize you were the only one actually thinking. You weren't ignoring the conversation. You were dissecting it. You weren't avoiding the game. You were already 3 moves ahead. That look in your eyes, that calm, piercing stillness, it's not confusion. It's control. Your intuition has never failed you, and it never will, as long as you keep your mind clear and your perception clean. You know the difference between noise and signals. You know the moment energy shifts, when words stop aligning with intentions. You don't need receipts. You feel truth in your bones. People fear what they can't fool, and your silence says, you can't fake it here. They won't always say it out loud. They won't admit how unsettled they feel when you're around. But trust this, they know. They know you're smart, scary smart. The kind of smart that doesn't perform, doesn't explain, doesn't need validation to move correctly. The kind of intelligence that disrupts false confidence and reveals the difference between cleverness and consciousness. So stay quiet, stay locked in. Let them keep underestimating you until they realize they've been playing checkers on a board you built. Your silence isn't empty, it's fully armed. And when the time comes, you won't speak, you'll strike. And so, here we are, on the other side of every whisper, every side-eye, every room that couldn't hold your frequency. You've seen the truth, walked through the fire, and stayed silent while the world tried to figure you out. But now, no more hiding. This is your time. Move with clarity. Trust your intuition. Let your presence do the damage. If this message hit home, drop 77 in the comments to claim your power. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs the reminder. You're not just smart.